Good evening. You're listening live to the Xtreme Movie Show. Xtreme TV is tonight's theme. I'm your host, Rob, broadcasting to you from the Pine Hills Palace, west of Orlando, Florida. We have a hurricane coming through. It's been sunny today with 2 rain bands, and that's it. So, gentlemen, Mr. Pixel, RDB, good to see you again.
Good to see you too.
Nice. Well, I see last week we had some technical difficulties and some issues and all that too. So we're back on track here talking about season 1 of Ash vs. Evil Dead, episodes 7 and 8. And I got to tell you guys, as far as my initial impressions of these 2 episodes, but the only thing I could really say about this entire season up to this point so far that I don't like is I don't really care for this militia angle. I don't see what purpose it serves. It's just sort of there. I'm not saying it's not watchable, but I just, with the tightness of each of the scripts we've talked about, and how the plot and the actions just driving you forward with these short, quickly edited episodes. Maybe it's the lack of music trying to push things forward, but I thought episode 7 was a little bit flat, and I thought 8 was definitely the better of the 2 episodes. But yeah, I mean, we just finished off episode 6 talking about where Amanda's looking to arrest Ash, but then, there's the big thing, and then Pablo and Kelly are there dealing with all that. But ultimately, yeah, just like I say, I think 7 was a little with this demon, Lem, the buddy that he met in the previous episode. So, I don't know. What did you guys think about it? Let's go around the horn here. Pixel, what about you?
I actually, I do think 8 is a better episode, but I actually think this episode is very important now because this is our first episode with Amanda officially joining the team.
Who Ash had never looked at her jugs before.
That's right. Never looked at. I have never noticed your cleavage before. That's right.
Yeah, that's a good line.
I think this episode was done quite well. I enjoyed the fact that each duo got their time to shine, and honestly, that whole scene with Kelly and Pablo trying to get the gas mask off of the one deadite.
Yeah, that was Pablo driving him into the tree. Yep.
That and the her telling him to take off the gas mask, and he's like, "Okay, all right, I've got this." Oh, he's dead. Okay, and then the whole shooting scene, because she does not realize how much power is in that gun. but it's a really enjoyable ride, and Ash and Amanda in the bunker handling Deadite Lim. It was fun. It was a lot of fun, which goes overall for the show. But
it's funny, like the fact that he got thrown in the bunker, locked with a Deadite. It's the 3rd time this has happened to him. First with Henrietta and Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness, he's in the well. Now he's locked in a bunker down in the basement with Amanda, and at least he's got somebody this time. The first time it was just him by himself versus the Deadites. So it's like I love how, like you said, this is one of those things where the shows that pay attention to hey, this is the first time this happened to me. I think he's even mentioned it too in the episode. Fine.
Yeah, that's a good catch there, I think, RDB. But let me ask you, kind of using Pixel's point here a little bit. Let's talk about Amanda for a minute. I do agree that the important thing is she's joined the group now, and we've seen her. And I've mentioned up to this point, one of the things I like is the fact that she seems very competent. I mean, what do we think of Amanda just as the character now that she's joined the group? What do you think?
Well, the fact that she's actually is an important character in the series. She was cop at first, we thought he was a serial killer. Finds out that actually, you know what? Maybe I was wrong. And I guess what? I was wrong. And up until this point, before the last episode, previous episode, I'm sure there was doubt in her mind because after seeing what her partner did in the first episode in the cabin. So, having her join the team, it's another person, the ally up with, even if it's temporary or permanent. It's the fact that they got someone else to play off dialogue with now. But yeah, I'm not saying she's a throwaway character. She's a vital role in the team now. They actually, if someone actually knows, she actually knows how to use a firearm too.
Oh, yeah, she's comes across as very competent, very capable, very believable in her role. Absolutely. But Pixel, what do you think of her importance so far?
But like I said before, now that she's joined the team, which is what I expected from the second episode, um, I didn't expect it to take this long. But I'm glad we finally got here, and her chemistry with Ash is remarkable. I think she fits in perfectly.
Yeah, see, that's exactly what I was going to bring up, but I'm going on the opposite spectrum. I think between those two, because to me, it seems like she's supposed to be the romantic interest, the adult one here, while the other ones are younger. I feel like they don't have any chemistry. I mean, acting wise, they get along great. They feed off each other well. There's that chemistry on the screen, but in terms of far as the characters goes, I don't know if like I say, if it's the lack of music or it's just the way this got split up. But I don't know. I just feel like it was a bit flat to me. I don't know why.
Well, I can tell you right now, in the very beginning, this is the first introduction to her actually with Ash, not looking at him as a serial killer. She still doesn't know if she can trust him or not. She just knows that something's going on, and he at least knows what's going on. He's the center of it. So you're not going to see it. You're not going to see immediate chemistry. You got to remember, Ash goes after anything and hey, anything that moves. That's his character. As for her being a love interest, it's going to take a little longer for her to even say it. At this point, you can't really say she's a love interest, unless you're watching ahead past episode 8, bro.
Well, we're not talking about 8 just yet, but the thing is, here in 7, I agree. It's an important episode because she joins the group, so we know she's a key figure, not just somebody chasing them and all that too. So that's cool. I actually think that the chemistry I see on screen is of course Pablo, and them. Like you were mentioning before, Pixel, with the whole shooting scene with the one deadite there too, and how to get it, and Kelly. I thought that was kind of good. I thought that was the fun part of the episode too. The rest of the stuff, like I say, Militia, I thought with them introducing Lem last episode, okay, we were going to see him again, especially when we saw him at the end of episode 6. But now it's just like, okay, he's dead. I thought, are they here just so they can get all armed up before they get to the thing? I felt like it was almost like a filler episode.
Well, that's what it was. Yeah, he said in the very beginning, well, here, hey, because Dana's like, we're a freaking family, it's like, he's like, well, that's the thing. And anybody, it gets close to me dies. That's why he wants to go to camp by himself, but they're insisting it. And she's like, just think about it. We didn't leave a trail of blood back there. We're just keeping Michigan moist. The whole Leonard Leonards and all. But yeah, they were definitely going to go to this camp. There's this militia camp in Michigan. We're going to talk to his friend Lim, who Ash knows from way back. We don't know how he knows him, but we know that he's going to go there, get ammo, armed up, and then go straight to the cabin. That was the plan. So of course, Lim at the end of the last episode was possessed.
It's one of those episodes where, like, I was thinking, okay, if it was only an 8-episode season, of course, we'd really need to peak. So you have that one episode that kind of seems like it's like a little turnaround time. Change the direction of this ship or whatever, and go, okay, now we're going on the last 2 or 3 episodes. Let's build up to a crescendo and let's see how it goes. And I think this just happened to be that transition episode.
Because I would never call this a filler episode, because this is basically them. It's part of the plot. They have to go up, and if they didn't have the resistance, hey, we're just looking at the ammo and that's it. Then the next episode, I'd feel kind of let down. Be like, hey, there's a freaking giant storming cloud full of demons, deadites. They're trying to possess people. So if they got no resistance, like, get the guns, go to the cabin. Within a blink of an eye, I'm like, no, I like this. I like the fact that they're making fun of, there are these out there. We call them rednecks or your militias.
There are chemicals in the water that are turning the frogs gay.
I love it. He's like, yeah, we saw that. It's just some government thing, It just turned them into a freaking zombie. And I love that guy. The guy's like, do I know? He's talking to man. His accent. He's like, so retarded. He's like, do I know you? I know you're for lockup 4 hours in prison. I'm thinking, can you get any more fake Southern with that accent?
It doesn't have that Michigan whistling through the teeth kind of sound to it, not at all. Although the lead militia guy with the beard, I couldn't quite make out his face, obviously, because he wasn't around that long, but he did sound like the lead bad guy in Ozark in seasons 1, 2, 3 with Jason Bateman.
Jacob?
The religious one. I think it was him. I don't know that. I haven't looked it up, but he was great in that show. And so I thought, adds a little bit to it here.
Jacob Snell.
That's it. Yeah, in his crazy life. Until he's not on the show anymore. Well, I don't know. For me, like I say, this is just kind of a bit of a flat episode. It wasn't bad. It was done well. It moves fine. All the positive things that we've talked about with every episode, minus some killer music, is in this episode. You know what? Out of you can't go 10 for 10. I don't think in all cases, unless of course we're talking Enter the Ninja and Revenge of the Ninja. But that's another stream we talked about. So if you haven't listened to it, guys, go check it. So, any last comments before we go into episode 8?
Before we go to episode 8, so we see that Ruby's got the dagger from the second movie.
We see a naked Lucy Lawless.
That too.
Wasn't that a cool scene? Her actually, as Amanda's telling him about the story about it, you see her just coming up naked out of the ash pile. No pun intended. That was a really cool looking scene. Like, we know now definitely, if we had any doubts before at all, she's definitely more human than human.
Yeah, she's reincarnating. She's able to reincarnate herself.
Yeah. She's aged well, I tell you that, because I couldn't tell if she was 30 or 50, and I don't really care. And she just feels like she's a strong presence as well, too. So, again, another thing this episode shows, as well as the entire – actually, you could say it's a very female-centric show, because you've got 3 or 4 leads that are female in here that are very good. And then you've got the bumbling idiot Ash, and then Pablo, who's not quite an idiot, but almost. So, yeah, episode 8, Ashes to Ashes is the title. This one I thought was a lot better, and here's where I think it kind of really changes. I said episode 7 I felt like it was a little bit flat. Maybe it was a little comedy scene in there with Pablo having to get the gun. But in episode 8, they're going back to a cabin because Ash kind of went off on his own because he didn't want anybody to be with him. This is not a funny episode, I don't think. It's got all the old stuff from the movies that are with it, and I think it's an actual very serious episode. It's got a nice dark adult feel to it. It's very light on the comedy to me. What did you guys think?
For episode 7, yeah, it is. Well, there's still comedy in it. Each episode has a little bit of comedy. It's situational.
Episode 8 now.
Well, you're gonna pass up all the guys being taken out by the demons, where Dana is locked on the car, tied up, and the guy's making moves at her, and then you see the Deadeye coming. Pablo's in the truck. I mean, you're skipping the parts because you want to rush, bro.
No, it's just a forgettable episode because
it's only because you say that.
Well, they have the shooting scene that might be funny, but then when they lock her up right before all that happens, he's like, "I'm gonna rape you later," and she's like, "Well, tell your sister." Won't she be jealous? And she spits on him. I'm like, I don't know. It just wasn't balanced to me. That's all. So yeah, that just kind of makes it sound even worse. It's just
reinforcing how these guys are just sick assholes. They're playing army, and then hey, karma, man. They don't believe them. They think they're crazy. They think they're the bad guy. These guys are loons. And I said this serves as a point because there are people out there who don't trust the government. I'm just saying that everyone who doesn't trust government is a loon, But there are loonies like this. Unfortunately, in Hollywood, they like to paint that everybody who's anti-government is a conspiracy loon like this. But no, it just serves the point. The fact that we're born for us, they know that Dana is a badass. And Pablo is slowly getting his courage.
I'll agree with you on that, especially when Pablo's saying, well, I'm trying to figure out what kind of guy I am. Am I a crossbow guy? Am I a gun guy? What am I? And so I think, of course, we'll find out eventually because he's not going to be nothing. So I think that's a valid point.
Yeah.
So now that point's been made, let's talk about episode 8. What did you think?
Episode 8, I love them all equally, bro. They're all great. As it builds up all the way up to season 2.
I think that
for me on this episode, Rob, here, go ahead.
I think what you said is absolutely right. While there are some slight comedic moments, it's a very serious episode in comparison to the rest. It's handled extremely well, I think. Because we're going way back, and if you have seen the movies, then it means even more. This is not a happy place.
Well, that's a really good point about the movies, because we've said before, if you haven't watched the movies, you could still kind of watch this and get the gist of what's going on. But you're absolutely right. Everything that happens in this episode, if you've seen the movies, it has a whole nother level of seriousness to it. And that's where, to me, I'm going, I don't think it's, a light episode, as much as we could say 7 or some other spots there were, but definitely not. I'm trying to think of the actual scene where when they walk, Ash and Amanda, they get to the cabin, right? And so to me, I'm looking at this. My first thought is, wow, this scene, and we've talked about this before, specifically for me earlier in the first couple episodes at the bookstore early on. I thought the set piece is fantastic. I don't know if they had the old blueprints and they rebuilt it. Not quite sure. I haven't really researched any of that, but just the way this looks is fantastic. It's high quality, looks as good as the movie, if not better. And when they're walking around in there, and then of course, as soon as they split up, because he's going to go out to the tool shed and she's in there looking around, keeping an eye on the book. Oh my God. I was like, this is really good. And this is kind of where I think it fits a little better because, obviously Kelly and Pablo are looking to find the cabin or whatever, and they come across a couple people traveling as well. And I thought, uh-oh. You're laughing. Why is that?
I'm laughing because you said, like, I agree with you on episode 7 being a little more serious. This is where it's like, yeah, you saw 7 and we saw 3, so we're going to give it twice as much gore this time. And this introduction of Hugo Weaving's Neve, Samara Weaving, she's from The Babysitters.
That's right.
so you get to see her, and I love the fact that Pablo's like, as soon as he sees her, he's like, wow, she's kind of hot. And Kelly gets kind of jealous. I love it. but I love it's also what Amanda plays a big role in this too.
Well, she does. So let's go ahead and talk about that here, because she's in here. They have a good couple of exchanges, some heart-to-heart comments. It's a nice way for Ash to kind of fill in some backstory if you haven't seen the movies. So you do get the feeling, and I will agree with you guys that while I didn't think they had a lot of chemistry necessarily in the last episode, I'll agree that for her to be not sort of be 100% trustworthy, she's just kind of going along, figuring things out, and it has to get proved to her that what Ash is saying is legit. I just go, well, this doesn't fit in the Ash versus Evil Dead universe. A serious relationship between him and a female, and just as they're kind of bonding here a little bit and all that, as they get split up, we'll talk about her first, and then we'll go back to Ash. Of course, she ends up getting met by Ash imposter, let's call it, with the hand that we see.
Evil Ash.
I know it looks bad, but it's not. It's not bad.
Yeah.
Maybe I grew out of it. Maybe it grew out of me.
Yeah, there's a lot of funny stuff in there, but she loses. She gets thrown like her partner onto the antlers of the deer that fell off the wall and gets completely friggin' gored out of her mind. And of course, there's the line that's kind of funny where Ash Imposter took the cleaver to her side of her shoulder, where like Daz goes, "Now I guess that's what you call cleavage." I'm like, I guess it's supposed to be funny, but I guess I was a little surprised that I felt that in the last episode they were pushing Amanda to be a kind of a serious, strong female, and then they just whack her. Lem, okay, I figured he was going to get whacked, and I figured these hikers might get whacked. Yeah. I'm not sure, just because they just now get introduced, and plus they're young. But I was a little surprised by that. As much as you guys said Amanda, had good chemistry with them, they killed her off seemingly.
And that's the thing, though. You got to realize by now, if Pablo and Kelly haven't died yet, the fact that Kelly's been possessed and hasn't died yet, it should show a big hint. What she actually might be on for more than just in this couple episodes. Same with Pablo. Pablo, by all rights, should have been dead in the first episode.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So no, and the only reason Amanda was alive, I can tell you right now, was the fact that she was with Ruby this whole entire time. Ruby could have killed her, but Ruby ended up getting killed herself before she could kill her.
That's true. That's a good point. And we still don't know exactly about Ruby, but we had, like you mentioned before, the introduction of the dagger, which I did leave out, and that's something that there's a mention in here when Amanda was listening to the old Reel by Reel tape about Necronomicon, about if you place it on the book, something happens. What
Ruby has is a Kandorian dagger, which is what they'd use at the basically exorcise the demon out of the body.
Yeah.
But of course the host dies, so.
So Pixel, this episode, what's your take on it? What stands out to you?
Honestly, I was a little surprised. I got confused whenever I saw the hand crawling, and then all of a sudden there was an arm with an eye in it. I was just staring a moment. Is this the same hand? And then we have Hand Ash, another evil Ash, in the series, and I really did enjoy this episode. I'm sad that Amanda died. I mean, we talked about in the last episode. She's finally with the team now. Everything's coming together, and then everything falls apart. I really liked the scene with, the scenes, because there's a few of them, but with Ash and Linda's head. I really think, like we said before, if you watch the movies, it has a whole nother meaning. And Ash going through that, it's troubling for him. And thus, when we see him really troubled, we're troubled because he takes things so good.
You know what I love though? Out of the whole entire, you see, you're not laughing about anything else. The best part is Ash versus Ash. He was like, "Oh, so they're me," and then I know you got to trick me. He hits him with the bar from the fireplace. I love.
That's true. I agree because to get to that point, he's stuck in the tool shed there, and he can't quite get out. And so he's had told Amanda, I put my my girlfriend's head in the vise, and then I smacked it, with an axe or whatever. So you see this nice looking skull with a crack in it, and you're like, okay, and something's going to happen, and it does. And it's a nice little scene. But to your point, I think that's the best scene, Ash versus Ash. Talk about that for a moment.
Like I said, it's this is also a throwback to Army of Darkness. I'm good, Ash. You're bad. You're a little good too. He's like, good, bad. I'm the one with the gun. This time, Ash wasn't prepared, so it's basically he's able to basically sever off the hand of the bad Ash. It's not. The problem is that now they look exactly the same. They both have the stump hanging out, so we don't know who's who.
Amanda cut off.
Well, I was saying he doesn't have his hand. Neither one has their hand, so it's like. But
who's who?
Yeah, and I love how this ends. It's like they're fighting, and then like, I think Kelly walk in the next episode, or end of this episode. But it's like I said, it's man, it's like they are not pulling punches here, and that's a little bit that's on Stars. If this had been any other channel, oh man, you wouldn't have gotten away with a lot of this stuff. Stars is known for being adults. Stars is also the host of True Detective, if I remember correctly, or is that HBO?
That was HBO.
Well, but I mean, like, I don't think HBO has some stuff, but HBO has never gone this gory. Stars, I allowed them to do this, and you know what? And that's what really appealed to the show to me. The fact they allow him to be. He's completely who he is. They water it down. They're still able to do stuff, and they're able to recreate stuff from the original movies with the new technology.
Well, you had mentioned that point before, and I think that's a very valid one too, because I can talk about the production values, the sounds, the music, everything. That's all well and fine, but it still has to be 25 minutes or so each episode. Has to be worth going. Well,
I love the fact that they brought in the campers in the woods. Like in the woods, they're like, hey, and we're here right now, just back hiking through America and stuff, going through. And so I'm thinking, like, as soon as I saw Samara leaving there, I'm like, oh my gosh, actually an actual known celebrity, because I was following her on Instagram and stuff, and she was talking about things and how it was like an honor because like she's like a fan of this stuff, and just to be on a show like this, is great.
Yeah, we had covered The Babysitter a while back last year with her in it, and she's obviously somebody that we go, oh, is she a potential scream queen? We don't know. But here's the thing, up to episode 8 that I think is pretty interesting about this show. We can talk about how good of a job it does pulling some old stuff into new, and also how good of a job it does if you haven't watched the movies and you're just watched this from episode 1. How well you can watch it, how entertaining it is. For me, with the exception of episode 7, which I thought was a little flat and lacking some chemistry, it still was watchable and everything's been entertaining. Now, they've been, in my opinion, overall surprisingly good. And I think the comment I made after one of the first few episodes, as we've talked about them, is that you feel like you're just walking right back into it, and any concerns you might have about the way it looks or the story, or if there's filler episodes that kind of stretch it out more than it needs to be, my concerns are all been gone for this, and that's what the surprising great thing about season 1 for me so far. And later on with season 2 and 3, we can talk about how those might be the same or if they change. But for me, those have been the big themes. But here's the biggest thing I will say, and then we'll pass around for some final thoughts so far. to me, I think the biggest surprise isn't how good of a job Ash is in here. I will say this. I'm liking it so much to this point, the way that it's been done, that I could actually watch, I think, and I'm going out on them saying this, I could actually watch a few episodes, or would be willing to, where Ash isn't even involved at all, and watch, Pablo and Kelly, because I think they have great chemistry. They seem like a team. It works for me, and very rarely can we say that a show that tries to pass it off to younger people, I think, can be successful. But so far, from what I've seen out of these two and the way they're written in, I just think it really works. That's the biggest surprise to me. What about you guys for these first 8 episodes? Any overall themes that you gonna want to watch for as we finish off 9 and 10 next week?
I think, funnily enough, what you just said, I think that really shines in like episode 7, where Kelly and Pablo are talking. There's that one scene. What kind of guy am I? What do you mean? Is this really a time for life choices? No. Like, do I use a hammer? Am I any kind of guy? I think how they act is enough that they. You're right. They could absolutely take a couple episodes, and Ash is trapped somewhere. And
like I said, his character has been he's getting more character development as the episodes go by. He wasn't the nerdy little guy, that had crushed on Dana. Now he's actually becoming stuff. As you'll see in the future episodes, he gets even more character development. So does Dana, and even Ash. Ash, he's an idiot, but he's learning more stuff, and of course, Ash being Ash, it wouldn't make. You couldn't do the plot without him being an idiot and making more mistakes. So
of course,
it's like it's frustrating and fun to watch at the same time. It's like, no, don't do it. But like the guy said, the guy's got the worst luck, but he's also stupid as hell too. So it doesn't really help. But when it comes to fighting, he's great.
I'm excited to see where we go from here, because it's all gone to shit now. When it all goes to shit, you have to see how it gets handled.
Well, my whole thinking is that an act of stupidity got him in this situation. So the resolution for season 1, I thought, it's going to be something even just as stupid, or the exact same type of thing again, like Beavis and Butthead kind of thing. And I'm looking forward to seeing how that's going to go on. The
way Ash did things, and like you said, like in Army of Darkness, he proved he knows how to do science. He took his Oldsmobile, his old Delta, and he turned it. He used combustion engine steam parts, and he actually turned it into a giant, took the windmill, turned it into a giant tank. With the spinning blade on the front, so he could just run over deadites and chop them up. So he knows how to do. He knows basic science. Evil Dead 2, as far as the Necronomicon, he had the daughter that Ruby was posing as, who ended up dying in the Evil Dead 2. She's the one that recited the incantations to send the demons back to where they belong, where they came from, which ended up being in the past. Those were in the Army of Darkness. So, and as Ed said, it's the way things happen. It's always been that way. The movies. Ash wins either with help from people, or unwittingly, messing it up more, but somehow dumb luck, able to you just able to win. But I love it because it pisses off the people, the villains, and they're so much that this guy is such an idiot, but yet he's able to win because.
I really have to say that in comparison to talking about Evil Dead 2 and Evil Dead and Army of Darkness, I like the way Pablo and Kelly just fit in. It because Ash has been alone for so long, and all the movies that we watched, it's pretty much just him handling everything. Even when he has side characters to quote unquote help him, it's mainly him. But here now he has actual people that he can somewhat rely on, and that's why at the end of 7 he tries to go to the cabin alone. He doesn't want other people involved. He doesn't want them to get hurt because they're his peeps, his family.
Yeah, the next episode is going to have a throwback to Army of Darkness about Pillow Talk.
Yeah, my only thought with Pablo and Kelly, and I'll close on this, is that a part of me sees, you know what, I could see where he gets her knocked up. They're living in a trailer park somewhere, and then those two could like continue on somehow, some sort of silly way with him being an idiot shaman and her just being a badass, loudmouth kind of punk, because she is a tough girl and she does that very, very well. And I don't know if there'll be more of her in terms of character development because, okay, we've seen her based on what's happened in this season grow into a role where, yeah, I'm down. Give me a flamethrower. I want to kill people. I want to mess people up like she did in episode
7.
6.
Episode 7. Episode 7. She's like, I've been possessed. My parents are killed. I need to get a fucking flamethrower. I deserve that.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. It's like, yeah, I understand that. And I want to see her with one too. Yeah. But there's just something about where I just go, they don't seem as unlucky as him. And I wonder if they're going to get some of that rub from Ash, the way he is, because they seem smarter than Ash, obviously. Maybe not much smarter, but that's not,
I would say Dana's more cocky than Ash. Or Ash is kind of stupid cocky, She is arrogant. She's so pissed off. She just wants to smash things all the time. That's her character. That's basically what it is. She's been getting, but she's slowly developing more than that, especially with dealing with Pablo. She's always been yeah, whatever, get away from me, you're a loser, And she's kind of warming up to him a little bit as far as that. Of course, Pablo wants a different kind of warming up. So. Like I said,
well, maybe we'll introduce another one.
Like I said, the production value of this. I'm not sure what the budget with this, but I'm saying I can hear, even though I love the plot, if they wouldn't have able to do all the gore and all that stuff, the show probably wouldn't have been as great.
Well, generally speaking, the last detail is that they've been directed by a group of different people as well as written. So sometimes I think you might not get the full-on continuity because we all might be inclined to like a little bit more of writing or the way something's directed by somebody, and that's just how it goes. And when you have something like this, even though Sam Raimi's involved with it a lot, I think that can ultimately be something that starts to throw you off course a little bit at some point.
With Bruce Campbell also, I'm sure he's probably looking over the script and he's like, well, how would I do that? That's let's do this. And sometimes he'll talk with Sam Raimi and they'll converse over this and we'll change it. It's not because, like I said, if they just went based off the actual script, what probably was there, it probably was way worse. But then, there's a different director each week or each episode, because it came out on Sundays. When it was coming out, I was like, do I watch Walking Dead or do I watch Evil Dead versus Ash?
Evil Dead, no contest. Walking Dead, that's a joke compared to this.
This was during the Saviors run with Negan, so I was like, man. Which one do I watch first?
Well, it's going to be exciting because, like I say, all the episodes have been pretty quick, pretty sharply edited. You get that sense of momentum, and we've got 2 more episodes to go. So next week we'll cover that and finish up season 1 of Ash vs. Evil Dead, episodes 9 and 10. Looking forward to that. So for Pixel, for RDV, for myself, for Anglin, from My Lab Comics, everybody here involved in the Xtreme Movie Show, I'd like to say thanks for listening, thanks for retweeting, thanks for sharing. If you guys see it and check it out, leave your comments below. All that, I'd be more than happy to discuss those with it. We actually topically like to try a few of these different shows out, and that's what we've been doing to see how we like it. And so far, 3 for 3 with this and Buffy and whatever the hell else the other one was or is going to be. So far, so good. So what, as Megadeth would say. For everybody here, guys, stay extreme. Good night.
Stay groovy.